Ketill Björnsson, nicknamed Flatnose, was a Norse king of the Isles of the 9th century. Saga biography. Ketill Björnsson was the son of Björn Grimsland. In the Laxdæla saga he is recorded as being from Romsdal, a valley in the county of Møre og Romsdal, between Nordmøre and Sunnmøre, and from Sogn in the land Namabok. After Harald Fairhair had won the decisive Battle of Hafrsfjord in the late 9th century, many fled from Norway. According to the Orkneyinga saga, some of these Vikings began to raid Norway in summer from the Orkney and Shetland Islands north of mainland Scotland. For this reason Harald set sail to uproot the attackers. He defeated them and also took possession of the Hebrides and the Isle of Man. This story is retold in the Bigu saga, but here it is Ketill rather than Harald who led the expedition, and after the initial victory the former retained the islands as personal domain, rather than bringing them under Harald's rule. In the Laxdæla saga the same story is told, but here Ketill is one of the Vikings who have fled to the Isles to escape Harald's tyranny. In the land Namabok the initial conquest is led by Harald, but as soon as he returned to Norway the raiders regrouped. At this point Harald sent Ketill to win the islands back again. Ketill did so but paid no tribute, at which point Harald took possession of what was owed from possessions of Ketill in Norway and sent away Ketill's sons. Some sources refer to Ketill as king of the Sudras, although there is little evidence that he himself claimed that title. According to the Landnamabok, Ketill became ruler of a region already settled by Scandinavians. He left no successors there, and there is little record of Norse activity in the west of Scotland in the first 4 decades of the 10th century. Most of Ketill's family eventually emigrated to Iceland. Ketill's wife was Ingvild Ketillsdottir, daughter of Ketill Weather, a herdsman from Ringerike. They had a number of children, including Björn Ketilsson, who lived at Bjørnahon, Helgi Bjørland Ketilsson, who lived at Estjaberg on Kjellans, Thorun Ketillsdatter, wife of Helgi the Lean, the first settler in Eyjafjordabay, and Jorunn Ketillsdatter. Ketill's daughter, Aud the Deep-Minded, married Olaf the White, King of Dublin. The son, Thorstein the Red, briefly conquered much of northern Scotland during the 870s and 880s before he was killed in battle. Aud and many members of her clan settled in the Laxdæla region of Iceland. Interpretations. Hunter states that Ketill was in charge of an extensive island realm and, as a result, sufficiently prestigious to contemplate the making of agreements and alliances with other princelings. However, Wolf suggests that the story of his failing to pay tax to Harald looks very much like a story created in later days to legitimize Norwegian claims to sovereignty in the region, and some scholars believe that this entire story of Harald's expedition is apocryphal and based on the later voyages of Magnus Barefoot. Although Norse military activity in Ireland in the 9th century is well documented in Irish sources, they contain no record at all of Harald Fairhair's voyage to the west. Furthermore, Harald is assumed to have annexed the Northern Isles in 875 or later. If Ketill's suzerainty postdates this time, it is hard to see how Thorstein the Red, an adult grandson of his, could have been active in the 870s and 880s. It is therefore likely that Ketill's fluorite in the Hebrides was at a period that predates Harald's victory at Hafrsfjord. Ketill Flatnose is also sometimes equated with Ketill Fine, a reported leader of the Galgadal recorded in the annals of Ulster as fighting in Ireland in 857. This source states simply that Imar and Amlabe inflicted a rout on Ketill the Fair and his Norse-Irish in the lands of Munster. The Ketill relationship was first proposed by E. W. Robertson in 1862, and then rejected by J. H. Todd in 1867. Robertson's position has since been supported by, among others, W. F. Skene and A. P. Smith, while others, including A.O. Anderson and Donchard O'Carrain, are more skeptical. In more recent scholarly debate, Claire Downham has endorsed O'Carrain's view. The connection is described by Wolfe as extremely tenuous, but Jennings and Kruse have supported the identification. Wolfe argues that Ketill was a common Norse name during this period, and there is no certainty that Ketill and Ketill can be equated. Find means white rather than flat-nosed. There is nothing in the saga sources to indicate either that Ketill was active in Ireland or that there was a connection between the Galweedle and the Scottish Islands in the Irish sources. Ketill is described in the sagas as the father-in-law of Olaf the White, a figure some historians believe to be identical with Amlab. Yet here Ketill is clearly the enemy of Amlab. Jennings and Kruse recognize the deficiencies of the saga materials but suggest that they should not be summarily written off as void of any historical value. They note that Ari Thorgilsson was drawing on family history that would have become muddled and mistaken in parts, but that the story is still likely to contain other parts that can be close to the historical truth. In the same way that the historical Ketill can be the same person as the character Ketill, it is widely accepted that Sebor MacDunlinch, king of Osriga, is the same person as the saga character Kjarvila Arakonung, even though their names are dissimilar. The Norse sources have Ketill's daughters Thorun marrying Helgi Inmagri, a grandson of Sebor MacDunlinch, and Orth marrying Olaf the White, both of whom were prominent figures in Ireland, suggesting significant connections between Ketill and the mid-9th century political landscape of that region. The Norse traditions provide some members of Ketill's family, such as his son Helgi and his great-grandson Alif, with Gaelic nicknames, suggesting a link with Galweedle traditions. His daughter Orth is recorded as a devout Christian, and one of her freedmen, Erpr, has a Pictish name. Ketill's nephew Orligi Habison is linked to the Celtic Church and was a follower of St. Columba. An individual can have more than one nickname, and dynastic marriages do not always equate to friendship. Dalriata was a Gaelic kingdom in the Argyll and Bute region of Scotland. Jennings and Kruse argue that Ketill Björnsson could have taken control of Dalriata with its islands. They note the correspondence between the Gaelic name Dalriata and the fact that when Orth settled in the Brythefjorth region of western Iceland, it was in a region called Daliradalan. Furthermore, in the Brythefjorth area there is an indisputably nostalgic Celtic precedent for quite a few names. Examples include islands called Pjartland and Erland, and the nearby Patreksfjorður and Trostansfjorður, named in honor of two Celtic saints. They also quote the Irish martyrology of Tala, which refers to Etlan, Bishop of Kingarth in Galgadhile. This indicates that St. Blaine of Kingarth in Bute was closely connected to the Galweedle. The text is dated not later than the early 10th century, and it seems that this part of Dalriata was by then part of Galweedle-held territory. Fraser has suggested that Little Donegal near Kingarth could have been the Dalriadan Cene acute Telcomgale capital prior to the Norse incursions. Ketill. The Chronicum Scotorum refers to a battle that took place in 904 in which two grandsons of Imar and their ally Ketill were victorious against Aed, who was evidently a leader in either Ireland or Pictland. It has been suggested that Ketill was Ketill Flatnose, or alternatively that he was Ketill ap Rodri, a king of Gwynedd.